Right, I've started this video a fair bit earlier than I usually do. We're flying a relatively interesting approach today, the A310. I'm not even sure if it's allowed to do this approach because the MCTU is already moaning at me about the landing altitude. Not the landing altitude per se, but the minimums. So we're flying the RNAV approach, runway 31 right at Bogota El Dorado International Airport, Sierra Kilo Bravo Oscar, SKBO. Airport elevation is 8,390 feet above sea level, so relatively high altitude, shall we say. In fact, one of the highest capital cities in the world, after, I believe, Quito in Ecuador and a few places in the Tibetan Plateau in China, which are slightly higher, something like 13,000 feet, for example. So I suppose we'd be doing high altitude ops, that's for sure. Just going to pop gear neutral and set auto brake medium. Reason for medium is the ground speed on landing at this altitude is going to be a lot higher than normal, so we'd be expecting normally you come in with a ground speed of around 150 knots, 140 knots. Today at this altitude we're going to be adding 2% times 1,000 feet times 8, so we're probably going to be coming in at more like 160 knots, so 850 feet per minute descent rate according to this. Now the issue is we've got a straighten landing, the RNP 0.3 is required. I'm not sure we even have that, we're just going to fly as a nav approach followed by a visual turn. So I'm going to maybe set the minimums a little bit differently. However, we do have a 3-degree glide path from Bravo Oscar 708, so you can see the FMS has tried to put something in here, so let's have a look and see what we get. So 412, 413, 710, 708, 708, so from this point here we begin our descent. That's 3 degrees. Actually that is stated in there actually, so there you can see 3. From 710. Okay, 3 degrees. So we'll be coming all the way down, and then from here, Bravo Oscar 704, we have a visual segment. It can be visual, but actually the last part is the visual part. So realistically, if we look at the charts here for El Dorado, it is much more likely, you can see here we're coming round 706, and then here's a key point here, 10600, we need to watch out for that. So between 706 and 704. So that's this part here, essentially. Just need to watch out at that altitude, we need to be well above 106. And descending down, there's no check altitudes unfortunately. So B0471 is in the missed approach, that's across that at 10,800 or above. 472, 12,000 or above, Amvez here at 13,000. Okay, 160 degrees. So we're going to see if we make this. This should be okay. We're coming in from here more, so we're going to turn right and then turn left and all that stuff. But yeah, we'll see if this works. If not, what we're going to do is we're going to use this table here to figure out our glide path angle based on the ground speed. So we might be at 710 at 15,000, and then 708 we're going to set that 3-degree glide path either with the vertical speed or it's going to magically work on the profile. So we'll hope for the profile, we'll expect the vertical speed, hope for the best, plan for the worst. In Guvim now, and then with 412 you can see there's a missed approach fix there, so we're slightly right of track. We're already on initial approach at 8,000. We don't need to be descending this quickly though, so I'm going to reduce that down to 1,100 feet per minute, and I'm going to request the 250 knots. Now we're 10,000 above the airport elevation, so probably we need to be at 240 or below. So I'm actually going to really reduce that descent rate now to about 800 feet per minute, roughly 3 degrees. Landing lights going on now, wing lights, taxi lights, all the lights, just Christmas tree it. Seatbelt signs are already on. We're okay here, we've set our landing elevation here, 8390, 8350 is what we've put in there because it's the only thing it'll accept. We do have 3 degree glide path programmed in there, it's in the FMC, so hopefully what we can do is 8690, enter. No, doesn't want to do it. What about 8000? That suddenly works. Okay, well that's fine, we'll do final 3 degrees and we'll use that. Even though that's below airport elevation, it just doesn't want to accept my ridiculous suggestions of 8,690 feet as a minimum. But now I can't change it. What about 8,600? No, not allowed. Okay, that's fine. Maybe 9,000. No. I don't know what you're talking about, you're speaking Spanish, but I suppose that's what you expect in this part of the world where Spanish is the main language. Bogota traffic, Clipper 2354 inbound, Bravo Oscar 412 for RNF, runway 31 right, flight level, 16,000 feet. So local QNH is required. Is that the QNH? Is this better visa QNH? This is Quito Center. Dot meta SKBO 2609, 220 degrees. So it's 9 knots from that runway direction, so that's why we need that runway. We wouldn't take the free ones because they do have terrain around them, and that's why they have a fancy on approach. There's no precision approaches for this. Temperature's 18, 12 degree dew point. QNH is 1023 with no SIG. CB northeast of the runway, northeast of the field. And altimeter's 3022 or 1023. That's 3022 set. Let's check the airport meta on here. It's very important for our RNP to... Oh, Madrid Airbase, we're not in Spain though. SKBO, where are you, SKBO? So 15,540 descending down now. We're going to be level for quite a while by the looks of it. Definitely planned our descent a little bit too early, but that's okay. We just don't want to have an engine failure. If we do, what's our plan? Well, this is an entire approach that's going to take us all the way around the runway. So if we have an engine failure at this point, we will just go straight to one of the runway 13s even, and just accept the tailwind component of about 8 knots. Okay, there's flight level, altitude 15,000, smoking signs on, seatbelt signs on, landing lights extended, auto brake medium. We won't do gear down just yet, so it's at 710, we need to be level, and at 215 knots, I'm going to actually set 215 knots, allow us to slow down in time. There's the engine spooling back, Meta. Dorado 3022, 1023. Go right turn, we're now inbound to 413. So here's our VDEV. Excuse me, I'm not too high. Yeah, so we might be needing to take this with a pinch of the salt. Because it thinks we're way too high. I'm going to say minimum is an angle 1. No. Okay, so our VDEV is good as useless by the looks of it. It thinks we're 3,000 feet too high. Okay, we're below 220, flaps 1. Field on the left is in sight. Bogota traffic, Clipper 2345 Heavy, inbound Bravo Oscar 710 on runway 31 right, establishing. There's our hill, that's our 10-6 hill. And it's basically a come round here, follow the terrain, and then 31 right is that runway there on the left hand side as we're looking at it now. It's on the right hand side as we'll be approaching. The approach layer overlay is completely useless in this case. It's obviously gone for 3,150 above. We'll see if that changes as we get towards B0710. As it is actually estimating that a little bit higher. Yeah, it still thinks we're too high. We're going to do VAP 138. Going to reduce that now. 710, 708, we start our descent.
Bogota traffic, Iris 4067. Line up runway 13 right.
15 coming in. Got 2.5 miles to go, let's program that descent. That's 2020 coming in. 1.8. Gear coming down. 0.4 miles, going to set 900 feet per minute. There's 900 feet per minute and the aircraft slowly making it there. Okay. I'm going to be monitoring now. We're not too high according to this. We should be leaving the altitude. There we are at 1,000 feet per minute roughly. We've got a ground speed of 183. I'm going to go for 1,000.
Takeoff runway 13 right.
180 times 5 is going to give us 500 plus 400, 900 feet per minute, so I'm going to go for that there. Okay, there's our runway. Use FPV now. Turning left inbound to that waypoint. This is our 10-6 obstacle, so I'm not too concerned about having a problem with that. Well clear. Airport over there, heading in down now across here. Bogota traffic, Clipper 2354 Heavy, inbound Bravo Oscar 704, RNF 31 right, base leg. There's our 3-degree glide path, just being held roughly by the FPA bug you can see here. I'm just going to be using that to basically keep us all sorted. And then we can kind of adjust that on final. We can see we've got 7 knots from behind at the moment coming from these mountains. And we've got 2 departures. I really hope they haven't just taken off on 1-3 left to do a departure that's going to come straight into my approach. Anyway, I'm lit up like a Christmas tree, so they should see me. And at waypoint 704, what are we doing? According to Navigraph, at 704, we're on a much straighter path than we should be on, that's for sure. Should be definitely more over to the right hand side, so I'm just going to do that. Get out, 3 greens, auto brake medium, flaps full, autopilot's off. We're going to do auto thrust off when we turn final. so it's not too far, just trimming away. Keeping an eye on this left point here. So we are coming in slightly over the city. Or maybe even the real track's supposed to be even further to the right. Okay, we're now supposed to stay left of a danger area, which is probably this financial district here. So probably have to stay left of this. This is SKR40. Excuse me, where's that vertical speed gone? Trimming. Just letting the auto throttle take control of that for now. Okay, visual approach now, I'm just going to treat it like a visual. There's the wrong way, got Pappy's identified 4 wide so far. But we're just going to watch out because in that final left turn I am probably going to get a little bit more descent rate than I want. There's quite a lot of pitch input required when you bank this Airbus over. So I'm just going to kind of get one red and then bank it harder. Traffic, Clipper 2354 heavy, long final runway 31 right. Ground speed is 170 still, even though our airspeed is only 138. Wind's now coming from 160 degrees, something like 5 knots. Still too high, but I'm using a 5-degree descent now. Coming from the left now, 260 degrees, 9 knots. 400, sorry.
300. Sink rate. 200. Sink rate. 100.
Long flare, high ground speed, as you can see here. So 125 already. Sticks forwards. 60 knots. Yeah, so reason long flare, high ground speed. So basically we're coming in quite fast, quite hot, with a relatively high descent rate. That's why it's saying sink rate. Well, actually that's just a 3-degree glide path when you're going 180 knots ground speed. And then again, as you saw, I started to flare at 50 or 40 because the reaction to airflow is extremely sluggish. It's very thin air, so you need to do everything a bit quicker. And also you can see I'm trying to get off the runway, and I'm actually using quite a bit of power to do that. So landing lights off, strobes off, and we're going to get the APU started up. Brake fan on, yeah, because we use medium auto brake, it typically does that with this. So Bianca, Wingo. Now where would Pan Am go? I don't know. Let's just assume we're going to be run by the nice terminal. There you go, that's vaguely how to do it. In the Airbus it would be more obvious because you'd get those RNP tracks properly drawn, but this is an older plane. RNP didn't exist when this was around. So that would have been just a visual approach in real life, and that's when I made it in the end. As you saw, we were too high for most of the approach, and then kind of fixed it in the last 2 miles, and then had a relatively long flare, quite a late touchdown, but long runways because it's a 8,700 metre tall airport. It needs very long runways. That's just the way. This is the way. This is the way. You can see, look at our elevation. There we go. Just fixed the QNH there. 8380. So yeah, high altitude operations. That's for sure. Master caution. Manual throttle. Brake fan is on. We're delaying the takeoff as well until those brakes have cooled down. Yeah, so that was it. Nice long approach from Tocumen International in Panama to Bogota in Colombia. I think it's Colombia. I hope it's Colombia. I was just offended somebody. Don't want to get cancelled. Yeah, it's Colombia. Nobody's offended. Maybe we'll go to La Paz next and do that. That's even more crazy. That's 11,000 feet above sea level, I think. It's actually quite enjoyable flying. Obviously, South America is a really great location. It's just a lot of different challenges, like limited approaches, high altitudes. You generally have long runways, but therefore you have quite wild things going on. Let's take this stand here. Scenery by VF's design, I think. A319 here. 22. A310 is the front one. Yeah, got that line there. So we're on the A310 line. APU available, parking brake set, engine 2 shut down, check. EGT dropping, N2 dropping, N1 dropping, E2 engine 2 is okay, engine 1 shut down as well. Over onto the APU power. Got the jetway connected, ASU and a GPU. GPU is connected, APU goes offline. There we go. Now let's check Volanta. 184 feet per minute, that's significantly better than my last one, but then again I was forcing that flare to be very nice and long. Now I did fly generally quite a curved track. I can see here there was a very sharp left turn and then I changed it to a more curved one as I took over. But if we had basically let the aircraft do its thing, we would have stayed a lot more right of track over more unpopulated areas, which is maybe the sense of the approach really. No problem though. Avoided the bad region where we have a problem, so no messing around in the financial district. Landing touchdown zone, so it might have looked quite bad, but the actual touchdown occurred. There is a large aiming point marker, and there is a little point after that. We were between that and the second one, so before the second to last one. It's okay to land even until the last one, then that's when you sort of start considering a go around, but that was okay. And then we taxied in, we're now on stand Foxtrot, I think Delta 19, stand 19. Right, there we go, 19. That checks out, hydraulics have gone off, so we've got everything drooping now, and the APU's just on its way out, so that's just heating off there. There you go. On our approach flown using vertical speed and basically just turned it into visual approach really.